don't bring ego into this, because then the art and the client will suffer.
Don't fight people just because they don't want your tattoo.
Correct. I know in real life, Kirby would be curb stomping Donkey Kong.
How did we get here?
This is hilarious.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of Baka Bois. We're going to answer some questions and talk about AI.
Yeah.
The scary boogie dude. That's the real intro. All right, let's go. All right, ask away. Ask us questions.
We're gonna start. We might do this more often. I'm not entirely sure if we will.
I like answering questions.
Yeah. So like every now and again we'll have like a Q&A section of our videos that we'll ask, probably on Instagram, or we will answer however many we feel like.
We'll ask you questions.
Yeah, we'll ask you questions.
All right.
Ask us. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Question number 1. And this comes from a fan. Actually, I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm waiting
How about
on
we
the
just be
question.
quiet and we'll listen to it.
All right. Hey, guys.
That's Tabs, by the way. That's Tabs' voice.
Yes.
Hello.
My lovely wife.
Shut up. So, Devo Station asks, what is the biggest client pet peeve during a session? That's it.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay.
I want to go.
I got a couple. Smells one of them. We could delve into that.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, something that's been driving me crazy is if every time I lift the needle up to dip it in the ink cap, and you just have to be that drives me nuts, because I'll be like,
It's gonna be there.
0.003% has changed since the last time you did that. So just relax, lay there. You know, you don't have to watch the entire process.
Yeah, I will say that smell is a big one for me, because all we ask, we're not pointing anybody out. All we ask is that you sanitize, you take care of yourself before you go to a tattoo, because our noses are going to be inches away from wherever we're tattooing. So if we're tattooing the inner bicep or the calf or something like that, where it's next to a notoriously smelly part of the body, take a shower. Don't wear fucking boat shoes without socks and then drive 6 hours to us without airing them out first for a little bit. That was one of my clients did that when I was an apprentice, and he just wore boat shoes, and he's like, "Yeah, I drove from Tallahassee or whatever."
I can already smell how bad this is too. I already know what.
Yeah,
that
just
smells like.
take a shower before you come into work or come in to get a tattoo.
Yeah, and this is really important. We've discussed this before. I'm gonna look at the camera because I'm talking to you guys for this one. If you have to fart, it is far less embarrassing to just tell us that you got to fart and then leave the room than it is to fart and then us just to sit there and pretend like it didn't happen. Please don't do that to us. If you got to fart, we get it. We eat Chipotle and hot Cheetos and stuff. So just tell us, man. We're not going to judge you. We rip them all the time too.
I rip them on top of JP all the time.
It's a weird rule that Brian can fart and be open about it, and you guys have to leave the room to fart, but that is a rule. I'm sorry. So yeah, just be mindful, and if you got to fart, don't worry. We all do. Just tell us. Give us a heads up. And if you think you need a piece of gum, just ask. We got gum.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed. All right, next question.
All right. Next question comes from Vita Deflex. Can you talk about some of y'all's tattooing horror stories, if you have any?
We both definitely do.
Okay, so
that ties into the smells.
I touched on this on John's podcast, the Unemployable podcast. Go check their stuff out. They're really freaking awesome. But there was a horror story that I mentioned to them, and I also mentioned to everybody I've ever met in my entire life because it was so bad. Keep in mind, I did a second session on this woman, and she was totally fine on the second session. Just keep that in mind. But the first session, I was doing a lust piece from Full Metal Alchemist. I was doing a forearm piece, and she came in with her boyfriend or friend or something like that, and what was happening was that I think she was on drugs or something.
I love the
She
idea
had-
of her watching these podcasts, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
I'm
but, like,
sorry,
just
but
loved the idea for checking this
that's
out.
why I wanted to. That's why I wanted to, start this by saying she is not a terrible person.
You did not start it with that, by the
Yes,
way.
I did. She's not a terrible person. Her second session was awesome.
She did good.
She did a great job. She was just a run-of-the-mill client. She did an awesome job. She sat there, whatever, on her second session. But on her first session, it was as if I was like committing some sort of like genocide on her skin, because the squeals and the screams that she was uttering, it was so like palpable. Like I got through the line work and then I was doing the hair, and she would just be like, "Oh, what did you do? What did you do? That's all you did?" And I'm like, "I've literally been tattooing you for
Like 30 seconds.
not even." It would literally, I would start the tattoo and she's like, "Oh, fuck. And then she was like, "Is that all you did?" And I'm like, "I've been tattooing for 2.5 seconds. Yes, that's all I got done. I'm sorry." It got to the point where it's a forearm piece, mind you, but she's laying down. I put the feet up on the chair and everything. And her friend, who is this giant man, he must have been like at least 260, 270. And he was putting his weight on her legs because she was kicking her legs as she was getting tattooed.
God, I wish I was there that day.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
For me,
I was the only person
up.
upstairs. It was like empty. The only people who heard this
We're all the downstairs people.
were all the people downstairs, and they were like, "What the hell?" Like as soon as I ushered them outside, everybody downstairs was just like, "What the fuck was going on up there?" I was like, "Did it sound like I was killing her?" Because I wasn't. I was just tattooing a fucking anime character.
So the lesson here is don't do drugs.
I think
when
she
you
got
get
her
tattooed, to get tattooed.
I think she got her drugs mixed up or something like that. But like she was not in any.
Well, some
form or
folks,
way.
I've been asked like, "Oh, would it help if I smoked a lot of weed before I got tattooed?"
No.
And I'm like, "Absolutely fucking not. Don't do that." And
No.
so that's the first lesson. Just come in as you are. Maybe
Yes.
take an ibuprofen. I don't know, but
I would
also
even suggest like as going as far as to say like take a like right before we start, like take a shot.
like whiskey or something.
Yeah, that'll numb things a little bit, but like don't
Liquid
drink
courage.
the night before, because it'll give your time
You hear
your
that,
body
guys?
time to
A single shot might help.
yeah
We're not
single
medical
shot.
professionals.
Like do that if you're of age.
And then
I know there's so many caveats to saying
second
this.
lesson here: Brian tortures his clients.
Yeah,
So
I guess, but yeah, that was probably the worst.
horror
worst.
story.
It was really funny because she was just like, "I'm not the worst, right?" And I'm like,
That's so funny you say that. Because usually when someone asks me that question, I'm like, "You are." And if you had to ask that question, that means that you are acknowledging
You would know-
to
you know.
some degree. Because I've had that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, won't say names, but I've had that situation where I was working till like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I never heard somebody scream more blood curdling torture sounds. And you know exactly what the situation I'm talking about.
"Yeah,
Getting cussed at, getting yelled at, and I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is no way this is happening."
I'm
And then at the
assuming
end
they're
of
a
it-
fan of the show."
And I learned a lot about myself then. I think they did too. I think that person also was like, "I've learned a lot." I feel like when you get tattooed and you're going through that level of pain, you are processing. You're learning a lot about yourself.
Yeah,
Like-
pain shows people who you really are.
Pain's a teacher. So I'd say that was, but to me, like, I'm so sensitive to smell. So I feel like you could be yelling and I'm more concerned with how it might be bothering other people around me. But smells are the things that affect me the most. Like I put a sheen of a,
Like Tattoo Glide.
like Crybaby or Hustle Butter. And I'll just put it over my upper lip. to smell that instead. Face masks were great during COVID because I would just put a tincture of lavender into it, put it on my face, and I'm like, I could tattoo anything. I could tattoo a pile of dookie and be fine. So, yeah. So I guess those are the 99% of our clients aren't horror stories. It's just that
Correct.
1% that reminds us that
And again, she's a fine client.
if you're listening to this, whoever you are,
You did great on your second session, and she even acknowledged it.
what,
So
what
you
Brian's
did
even
great.
saying is, please come back.
Yeah. No, yeah, you did good. You did really good second time. Anyway.
All right, next question.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
Yo Funko
Funko.
with Dren asks, what is the most fun you had with a design someone asked for?
Oh, I mean, mine's easy. It just happened. When you tell me that I have any Pokemon I want, it's super simple. And you just go, here's a list, but any Pokemon JP wants to do, I'm down. Thank you. If I got that all the time, I know that I would be living in heaven. All right, and then now Brian go, because he's got some good ones.
My favorite to design, that was the question, right? To design, not actually tattoo. My favorite to design was probably the Donkey Kong and Kirby one that I did a while back. Just because originally he wanted a Donkey Kong piece, and then I just had the idea of him just fighting with Kirby, and then I messaged him. I was like, hey, is it cool if I added another character like that Donkey Kong's beaten up? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then I made the design, and as soon as he saw it, he was just like, that is the coolest, because he hates Kirby. And I'm like,
Which is ironic because
Because I
Kirby is
love
your
Kirby.
favorite. So
I know in real life, Kirby would be curb stomping Donkey Kong. However,
how painful was it to draw curbing in such a
Wasn't painful at all,
distressful-
it wasn't painful at all because I was using my hand as a reference, and I put like such an animated face on Kirby, and the whole process I was just like, the entire time I'm on my iPad, I'm like, it's just fucking like I would just be putting like tear streaks
Oh my
on
gosh.
Kirby. I'm like, this is hilarious.
In this clip, we'll have to show the tattoo so people can see it. Like,
Yeah, stuff like that is really fun. Like when it's like super dynamic. But I also like when people are like, I want any one of these characters and just do whatever you want. I'm like, yes,
yeah,
thank you.
that's
Yes,
the best.
please.
I think is like when you have full. It's almost too much when I'm like, wait, like any
Anything?
Pokemon?
Yeah,
Because damn, now I got like a lot I want to draw.
yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Good
So-
question.
So you said that you had a favorite tattoo to design, but it sounded like you had a different one that you actually did that was your favorite.
So designing and tattooing are two completely different things, especially like how I think about it. I really enjoy designing, but the tattoo experience itself can be because of a number of different things, whether it's the conversation that I have with the client, or if it's, what we're watching, or how JP and I are interacting during the tattoo. There's so many like factors that go into it. Like if I'm tattooing somebody who's been moisturizing their skin since they came out the pussy, and they're just like pristine skin, and JP is making me laugh and I'm making JP laugh, and the person I'm tattooing is, part of the conversation, and we're watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia or something like that, and I'm like, today is a perfect day.
You're like
the
this experience is incredible.
Yeah, and I'm tattooing a Pokemon. Like that, the culmination of that is just
And Chipotle's on point that day.
And Chipotle's on point
The
that
rice
day.
is like perfect softness. They give you the right amount of protein.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm like, everything about this day, I'm like, I love everything, all of this, So there's a number of times that's happened. I can't really choose one, but yeah. They're all. If you feel like I'm talking to you, then I'm talking to you.
I'm on that same page. I'm on the exact same page. I'm like, yeah, if that all lines up like that, and I'm like, come home and I'm like, yeah, it's a perfect day. I worked my entire life to have days like this.
Yeah.
So
Really awesome.
In Worley 97 asks, is it ever difficult for you guys to choose from the list that you get from a client?
yeah. It depends, because like if your list is like, I want Zoro, Itachi, I don't know, just characters I tattoo all the time, it's easy to say no to those. But there are some times where the list is incredible, where I have a hard time picking. So usually what I'll deduce it down to is like, all right, what is the least likely character to ever get asked of me again? And I'll pick that one. Because there are some characters where it's like it'll be 10 years before somebody ever asks for this again. So I'll go with that one typically.
I agree, but sometimes my love for certain IPs are
Takes
just
over.
too great. And my thing is, like, if you give me like a great list and then one of them happens to be a Pokemon,
You're going to pick the Pokemon.
I'm going to pick the Pokemon. There was a guy that he was just like, yeah, I want you to either fucking, Small Might, fucking, Lemillion, Tanjiro, and then like a bunch of awesome characters and Mewtwo. I'm like, well,
Mewtwo.
I guess I'm tattooing Mewtwo that day.
So for the potential clients listening, if you pick a Pokemon, just forget that the rest of the list exists, because I'm going to
99 times out of 100, I'm pretty sure there was one time I picked something other than the Pokemon because I think it was something that JP said where it was like, I'm never going to be tattooing this at any other point in my life. I have to choose this. Otherwise, I'm never going to tattoo this part.
Ooh, I wonder which one that was.
I've
had a few of those.
I believe I had one client where I was just like, this is never going to happen to me again. So I can't remember it, but I specifically recall having that feeling. So
yeah, there
I
are
just
some
don't
of those where
remember which
that
one it was.
happens. If you pick a unique thing, I'm stoked. I'll probably snag that. But if you're like, oh man, I really like his Tanjiros, and I'm like, dude, I've tattooed so many Tanjiros, so if there's another option, I'm probably not going to pick that one. Or even Gengar. Gengar's my favorite Pokemon, but I know that someone else is going to ask me for a Gengar. So if you're like, I want Gengar, and then the next one is like, I want Luxray, I'm going to pick Luxray because I know I'll do a Gengar, but no one asks for Luxray. So yeah, for me,
it's very strange. Luxray's dope.
I love Luxray. It's such a cool, underrated Pokemon. I could go on a tangent about underrated Pokemon. But yeah, so I'll typically pick a cool one that is very unlikely that someone will ask me for again.
Yeah.
So.
Sort of a follow-up to that. Stolen Macaroni asks, how do you handle picky customers that never seem to be happy or satisfied?
Stolen Macaroni. I love that name, dude. Can I steal that name?
Hilarious.
Wait, what was the question? I couldn't get past the stolen macaroni part. What was the...
How do you deal with like incredibly picky clients?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how do I deal with picky clients?
Our job as a tattoo artist is to put art on your skin. We are not mind readers. That is first and foremost. You can have an idea and you can articulate that idea in the best way possible, and we would still put our own twist and our own flair into the tattoo, and it still might not be what you're looking for. So that's where there has to be a little bit of give and take. So I would try to push them in a direction that we both feel comfortable with. And if they're still dead set in their ways, there is nothing wrong coming from an artist saying like, hey, I might not be the right one for you.
Yeah.
I've had instances where I've had to turn people away because they're like, I love your art and I want this with this, and then they're doing this and this, and I'm like, can we like not do it this way? Or like they want a certain style of tattooing, and I'm like, hey, unfortunately, I don't think I'm the right artist for you, but I will point them in a direction of people that I think are more than capable of doing that tattoo for you. So I would give them like another name for another artist or something like that.
Perfectly well answered. Like, that's pretty much what I would say. I'd say that fortunately we don't really deal with pickiness too much. Like,
Yeah.
usually when you see our portfolio or Instagram, whatever, like you know what you're signing up for. So you're not necessarily surprised, I guess. Like, so if you show up and you're like for me, if you don't like dialogue bubbles or onomatopoeias or anything like that, like my first question is like, why'd you pick me then?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I do my tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain degree, it's like if I feel like I'm sacrificing too much of, you know, the work that I put into building a style and building what I do, if I feel like I'm taking too much away from that, I'm like, I start to suggest maybe a different tattooer or something like that might be more in line with what that person's looking at. So kind of like pretty much what you said. But I do want to point out that I'd say like 99% of our clients are pretty much on board. If there's a change, it's usually pretty minor. I think Brian even had an instance the other day where someone made a change, but it actually looked cooler, right? It was like the Wonder Woman situation.
Yeah, it was just I forgot what it was. I was doing
It's a minor change. Yeah, it was like a sword thing.
Yeah, it was like the length of the sword or whatever. So I was like, all right, and then I just went on one of my tools and I was like, whoop, and I was like that, and she was like, perfect. And I was like,
yeah,
all right.
So those things make sense. So yeah, how do we deal with it? I think we're very fortunate. We're very lucky to be in a position where our clients know what they're signing up for, and they're usually pretty stoked and excited. Minor changes happen, but yeah, no, it's pretty cool.
So clients usually know what they're signing up for because of your Instagram and social media. They know how you tattoo. Nye Inks asks, how long did it take for you to discover your own tattoo style? Because I'm struggling here.
That's a good question. So we come from two levels of, like, he's been doing it for a couple years. I've been doing it for 7.5 years. Mine took it took me a lot longer to figure it out. I think because when I got into it, the shop I was in, I had to do everything. So I was putting my hands in a lot of different styles for a very long time. I knew what I wanted. I didn't know that it was possible. I thought there was like 3 or 4 people that achieved just doing anime tattoos. So I like to compare it to like when I got into music. You kind of when you first pick up a guitar, you're not like writing your own music, you're covering other people's songs until you get good at it, you understand the mechanics of it, and then you start implementing things that you like and your influences. And I came from comic books, pop art, Roy Lichtenstein, hookups, and then anime and stuff like that. So I really grew up with like 80s, 90s, and early 2000s influences. And I just had fun with it, and I stopped stressing about comparing it to my peers, Simon Bell, Hori Benny, all of them who were doing incredible work. And I stopped trying to emulate them and be like, well, what would I do? Like, how much fun could I have with this, and what makes me happy? And I really liked bold things that pop out at you. So that was my take on it. It took me a while to figure it out. And when I finally got there, I was like, now I'm just fine tuning that. But just remind yourself to have fun and not compare yourself constantly to your peers.
I would say when it comes to certain artists, there are artists that you can pinpoint their artwork from 1,000 different pieces of artwork. I can see JP's artwork and I can pinpoint. I'll be like, yep, JP did that. Yep, Russell Tattoos did that. Yes, that was Simon K. Bell. That is Hori Benny. That is Dan McWilliams. They have honed in on their own style, and they are, I would say, in the process of still perfecting it. Like, I know people are still finding themselves, but for the most part, that is how JP tattoos. That is how Russell tattoos. So that is one way. What am I trying to say? That's one way to be an artist, whereas I can guarantee you that nobody would be able to pick out my pieces. because there are so many people that may or may not tattoo the way I tattoo. I don't have a specific style because I can just go through my own pieces and be like, yeah, this is, I could attribute this to, this style, or like the Misty and Psyduck that I did looks nothing like my Spider Rex, where
Can I disagree with you on this real quick? Dude, I think you have such a style. You're crazy.
I personally don't think so.
You have yours is in color theory. So I can recognize, I could be like, these are Brian colors. Like, this is a Brian approach to colors. And I can recognize that almost instantly. Even like the colors you pick for your backgrounds. So you do have a style. And I can pick it out and recognize it, against the
But
lineup.
they're not as like eye-catching or as immediate as somebody like yours or Russell's.
You've also been tattooing for 2.5 years?
This is not me. This is not me trying to be like, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm saying this is my approach to art, and I deviate from certain, like from one piece to another piece where I'm just like, I might try this.
You're
this
still
time.
developing and experimenting, developing. Yeah, like
that being
cool.
said, there's a lot of artists that have been doing this 10, 15, 20 years that still don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't even look for something like that. They're just like, it depends on how I feel. Maybe I'll tattoo this way one day, and then maybe I'll tattoo something completely different another day. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And if you are if you're dedicating your entire tattoo career to try and find your style, you might actually end up losing yourself because you don't need that to be an artist. So take it from me and JP, like two different styles of art where, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah. I mean, early on, my art looked a lot like my mentor's, and it was pointed out by a lot of people. The way I did my line work, the way I did my blends, and I was like, well, I'm emulating him. And like you're early on in your career, but what I think your style is, to me, I was like, did this make Brian smile and laugh when he did it? And I can tell his relationship with the artwork that he's making is that. Like, I can see that where I'm like, he had fun doing this. I could tell by the way he's approaching it, that this was a fun thing. So I think that's part of your style. I think in an interview we did a long time ago, you were answering like, what is JP's style? And I just said fun. And you were like, no, it's this thing. And I'm like, no, I just have fun with it. But I feel like that's your style. It's just like, did you have fun with it? And that's Brian's style. It's fun.
I suppose.
So
I'm so glad that you brought that up, JP, because from a person who doesn't tattoo, Brian's pieces have such a loud voice to them. Like, I can tell when it's a Brian piece because I really can, like you said, tell how much fun he had designing it and working with it, and that really shines through with all of your pieces, whereas other people's style don't necessarily have that sort of voice. But I might be biased. I don't know.
No, I love it. No, it's like it's cool. I think when you're early on in your career, it's hard to see that you are developing a style, because the only time that you know that you have a style is when you can look back on it in hindsight.
It's kind of like losing weight.
Yeah,
it's
when
like
you're in the process, you don't see it. But
when you're in the process, because you see yourself every single day and you don't see the gradual change. But imagine, like, I remember a friend of mine in high school, like it was like junior to senior year, in that entire summer, like he lost like 50 pounds. And I was just like, what the fuck? What happened? And he was just like, yeah, I started working. Can you tell the difference? And I'm like, yeah, no shit, I could tell the difference. What the hell happened to you?
If people saw the first tattoo I saw you do when we worked in the same shop together, when he first joined, the first tattoo he did wasn't bad, but I was like, all right, cool. And then within like 3 months, I was like, fuck, dude, this guy got good real fucking fast. But what was cool is you were picking up from those around you, and I can see where you were incorporating things you were learning from, the artists in the shop. But I saw you putting your own twist on it. You would do it almost the way they did it the first or second time. And then the third time you're like, all right, I'm going to take it in this direction. So I see the influence. I mean, I know where my influences come from too. I know where I'm pulling from. But then I kind of just turn it in a direction where I'm like, this is cool, but I'm going to do it this way. And so you do have a style. And so developing your style, to kind of come back to answering the question, really just have fun with it. If, like, for instance, you like my bold lines, cool. If you like the way that Brian blends colors, or if you like the elements that some other tattooers might add to theirs, that's rad. You know, figure that out, fine tune it. At first, it might look a little too similar to the artist you're pulling from, but that's okay. And then you just kind of like take it in your own direction and develop your own approach to it. So yeah, there you go. I hope that helped. I really do.
So to kind of go a little bit deeper into that, Lost Tattoos asks...
Oh, Lost is cool.
Oh, you know them?
Yeah, he buys like every T-shirt of mine. He's a really sweet dude. So thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, do you own a PPT PP Poo Poo T-shirt, by the way? If you don't, that's cool. Zoom in on Brian's face.
So they ask, what were your aha moments in your tattoo career where it all started piecing together?
I want to hear Brian's first.
Okay, so
When he met me.
I don't think that I have one particular aha moment in my career. I think it's just like a bunch of small aha moments where I'm like, oh, this is how they do this. Oh, this is how they do this. It pretty much calls back to what you were just saying, where you kind of start taking bits and pieces of how other people do things. And then you have like this amalgamation of what you would call your style. And I feel like there was a time where, you know, I was looking up to a bunch of different artists, including JP. I actually went to his old shop to just to meet him and see how he does what he does, because I liked your line weights, as a lot of people do, and I wanted to see like how you would incorporate them and stuff like that. And then I would do that. I would take I would look at Russell's and like or Brand Doom or Hey There Jenny, and like how they blend certain colors and how they do line weights and stuff like that. And I'm like, I love that, you know? So I don't have a one aha moment. I just have like a bunch of like, oh, this is how they do this.
So a bunch of little ahas.
A bunch of little ahas, and I'm like, that's amazing. And then I would incorporate that and kind of put that in my little tool belt to use for later when it's necessary. Like I just did a Jeff the Land Shark like a couple days ago,
It's
and I was
adorable,
kind of,
by the way.
I was channeling my inner like Jenny, and I was like it wasn't completely like her. It definitely had like, you know,
Your
my
elements.
spin on that, but I was just like, this is cute. Like I saw it, I was like, this is fucking adorable.
She's
like,
the
even
best at doing the palm size, like her hand size, palm size, where I'm just like, that's fucking beautiful, dude. Like,
yeah, it's like, stupid. Brandon just did a mag mortar.
I saw
on
it.
like heavily freckled skin, and I'm like, it still looks fucking incredible.
It's amazing. Yeah, I aha moments. I don't know if I've had like a billion of them, and I still have them constantly. The ones I think I learned the most from are like, and it's weird because it's not a tattoo one, but it relates to tattooing. And I'm paraphrasing the fuck out of this, but Rob Dyrdek said something. I know I've told you this like 100 times, but Rob Dyrdek, pro skateboarder, huge entrepreneur, he hit like a slump in his career as a skateboarder. He, you know, got into partying, just hanging out, kind of living in the moment of being a pro skater. And then his like sponsors and all them were getting ready to drop him because he kind of just slumped, right? And it was like this huge motivating moment for him. And he stopped looking at his peers and what they were doing, and he started looking at the younger generation, the hungry generation, you know, the folks that were trying to climb, had everything to gain. And he started being inspired by them. And that was a huge thing for me, because when we're talking among your peers, you can still learn a lot from them. And I'm not saying don't do that, but when you look at the younger generation and you look at how the newer tools that seem foreign to you are just normal to them, and how they're utilizing it. I'm like, that's what I want to learn from, because I'm 34 going on 35 this year, and I'm aging out of what a lot of the newer generation is getting into. So I'm like, I don't want to get stuck in my way. So an aha moment for me was like looking at that younger generation and seeing what they're hungry for, learning from them, and then utilizing it in a way that helps me not get stuck and further my career. So always be learning and adapting, but don't look down on the younger generation, like look up to them. So yeah, that's one of like a billion that I have.
Very well said.
Yes, thank you, Lost. I hope you get found one day.
He only lost his tattoos
on other people. In a way, we all lose our tattoos on other people.
This next question comes from Jeremy Calvary.
Oh, I know Jeremy.
Oh.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Trying to be like
I don't know
JP,
him, but I know the Calvary.
Anyway.
They asked, what was the most helpful thing that helped take your tattoos to the next level?
What was the what?
What was the most helpful thing that helped take your tattoos to the next level?
Oh, I don't think it was just like one thing. There's so many things. I mean, proper packing technique was like I watched my tattoos go from being like good to like excellent when I started applying like direct drive packing technique.
It was probably the packing for me, just because I was taking notes from other big names like Mike and Russell and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I
did learn that from Mike. Yeah, like packing technique.
I was literally taking notes when Russell was tattooing my leg, when he was doing the Armstrong on my leg. Mm-hmm. And I remember taking those notes to heart and being like, okay, this is how he does this. I'm going to try. And I did see a noticeable improvement. So packing, that's so big, man.
Yeah, packing technique, composition. There's so many things that go into it, but there's like when you realize the difference between like good solid black packing and what that does, and then now it's crazy because now when I look at other tattoos, I can instantly tell if my eye just immediately goes to, was the packing technique solid on this. Mm-hmm. And it's something that you have to practice constantly. You don't just figure it out and then you have it. I have to put that into practice constantly. And I'll even still point it out in my tattoos where I feel like I could have been better, or maybe I got a little too tired and
I will say that the thing that strikes me the most is composition. Mm-hmm. Because you could have impeccable technique everywhere else. You can have impeccable lines, packing techniques, just color theory and all that good stuff. But if you put a piece that's just so oblong mm-hmm. against the body part that you're putting it on, it throws everything off. And there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas like with packing techniques, you could have everything else correct. And if you have shit packing technique, then let it heal. Go learn a little bit.
And come back to it.
And then redo it. Whereas if the composition is off, there's nothing you can do.
So packing technique and composition, I think, are like the two mains. Like that changed the game for me. Like cutting out unnecessary filler on tattoos and really trying to find a way to make sure that everything that's in there is necessary information. Mm-hmm. And then making sure that you just have solid, smooth, saturated colors and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd say that those are, for me, those were like the biggest, like, yeah, I like that. Thank you. Was that the Jeremy Calvary one?
Yeah, that was Jeremy Calvary.
Good question, Calvary.
Aflakinte asks, what part of tattooing was most difficult to learn or the hardest thing to get used to?
I know my answer. My answer is color theory.
That's fair. I still work on that constantly.
There's no... when it comes to me and my brain, I like black and white answers. There is no black and white answer for color theory. It's just like when people tell me about it, they're like, yeah, you got to learn true color theory, and then you have to abide by those rules,
And then break them.
Then you'll be able to break those rules. And I'm like, that makes zero sense. Why can't I just break the rules now? And I'll just start mixing.
It's like anatomy too, where it's like you're like figuring out anatomy. You're like, oh, you got to learn the rules, and I'm like, I hate learning the rules. And you're like, and then you can break them later. But it's because of your understanding of the rules that allows you to break them.
Correct. And so I would say color theory 100%. Like when I'm using like certain colors, like there are a million questions that go when I'm in a like designing a tattoo. I don't even think about the colors that I'm going to use. I just know the basic colors of like the character that I'm using. But then when I have just finished the line work on the person, and then I go and I lift up my tray to go look at all the colors that we have, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. I'm like, I know I'm going to use this color, and I know I'm going to use that color.
And somehow I'll get the in-betweens to get there.
but I don't know. I was just like, there are so many things that go into it. I'm like, half of the time when I'm doing pieces, not even half of the time, most of the time when I'm doing pieces, in my head, I'm like, I hope this works. And then it ends up working. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
I feel like I have like a pretty solid recipe that I don't break a lot for my color theory now. I was like, all right, this is tried and true. I've done this a lot. And then anytime I step outside those bounds, I get really scared. I'm like, fuck, I hope this works. Because I know the other way that I do it always works. My purple to my light pinky, you know, whatever. And then the yellows in the foreground and all that. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard because that one's always developing. You know, solid packing technique is just you figure it out, you practice it, and you just continue practicing it. My line work has like a tried and true recipe. Color theory is one that it's fun and it's also scary at the same time because like you don't want to fuck it up, but you also want to explore that territory as much as you can.
But in order to explore it,
you got to take risks.
You got to take risks.
Dude, I did that.
Sometimes those risks are so difficult to take.
I did that with the Optimus Prime tattoo I just did. I was like, oh, I'm going to try some different shit out with this. And there's parts where I was getting like real quiet because I was like, ooh, I hope this works. I really fucking do. Like, I was like, I hope I'm moving in the right direction with this. And I think it came out really cool. There's a couple of things I do a little differently, but I'm like, for me, it's one of my favorite tattoos I've done in the last year. All right. Thank you for that question.
The next one, Raslin has Lamart.
Nice.
Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Asks, how long did it take for you guys to feel comfortable tattooing? Like, really happy with your work? And do you just fuck around and find out until you find something you like regarding colors, equipment, machines, composition, and drawing?
I fuck around and find out constantly.
Yeah, we're still doing it. Like, me, clearly, because I've only been doing this for like close to 3 years.
Yeah.
But I still see people that have been doing this for 10 plus years, and they're like, I'm still finding my way. And I'm like, cool. It's just like a nice anxiety-filled look into my future where I'm like, oh, okay, that don't even have the answers.
I don't want to get comfortable though. I really don't. Cause like I feel like anytime I have vices, like, or I have like things I fall back onto a lot, I start getting really bored with my pieces and then I just don't like them. And that might be really good pieces, but I'll be like, I don't like this anymore. Even if a lot of people might think it's good, I'm like, nah, I rely too much on this behavior that I have. So I like fucking around and finding out and then getting to the other end of it. There's a middle part of that terrifies the shit out of me where I think I'm messing up, but I just push through and I get to the other end of it and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I really actually I'm glad that I scared myself. So fucking around and finding out should, to me, always be a part of your recipe. Like,
yeah,
whether you're 2 years in, 10 years in, 20 years in, fucking around and finding out should always be a part of your recipe. Worst case scenario, if you don't love how it turned out, tell your client, hey, come back. I'm going to, adjust a couple things here and there. Usually it's not anything that is like, ironically enough, it's not wholly permanent. It's usually things I could fix. But yeah, that's how you develop. So fuck around and find out. Like, I'm going to make a t-shirt that says that. Fuck around and find out.
Ton Extreme 05 asks, what was the most difficult drawing you have ever done? And I want to know why it was so difficult for you.
Probably my most difficult piece was probably the Spider Rex, because it was so out of the norm for what I usually do. I like to do cute. I like to do funny. I like to do like kind of, stoic action poses here and there. But like the Spider Rex was so much, it was much more detailed than what I'm used to doing. A lot of things that I had to accomplish in order for me to get it the way that it was. And it took me 2 sessions because I was like, there's no way I was going to be able to do this in 1 session. But when I did the last highlights on it, I was just like, I was like, holy shit. Like I fucking nailed this. Like, and it was on an older gentleman too. So like he had like biker skin, and I was like, the fact that I pulled that off
on biker skin,
dude, I was like, this is nice. It was a really big accomplishment for me to do something like that.
I don't know what Gundams are tricky just because they're very detail oriented. I don't know about difficulty as in like I was like breaking my brain trying to figure something out, as much as like knowing that a tattoo would just take a really long time because there's a lot of detail oriented pieces to it. I don't know. I feel like my difficulties are more in my band merch and t-shirt designs, because I feel like my recipe for tattooing has got like the way that I lay things out, the composition for it. It's pretty dialed in, whereas like I challenge myself outside of tattooing a lot harder than I do within tattooing.
And then you also have to, again, going back to color theory, you also have to really rack your brain on when you do certain t-shirts that only want you to use like 4 colors or something like that.
Yeah, that's way more difficult to me, where
you have to literally...
You want to understand
simplify.
Color theory, like limit yourself, because like with tattoos, my palette's usually 30 colors big, plus I'll add to it throughout the day. I mean, you've seen how many colors I use, but when you're limited to 4 or 5 colors, usually 7 max on a t-shirt, and there's all these different elements, and you got to really start figuring out like half tones and all these different kinds of things, or like how a certain brown next to a yellow just looks like a gold, but that same brown next to a black looks like a gun stock or something. So that's, to me, that's far more challenging when you're told you can only do something with a lot of elements with only 4 or 5 colors. That is challenging to me. So tattoo designs, I don't know so much that it's the design that the drawing aspect of it that's challenging to me, as much as it's the application, and then having like the mental fortitude to get me through an 8 to 14 hour tattoo. Because the top of the day, you're at 100%, and then you start declining, but you're just, I pack myself with caffeine so that I can still tattoo at 100% as much as I can. So that to me is where the challenge is at.
Have you guys ever had a tattoo or a piece of art that was so difficult for you that you got overwhelmed and didn't even want to finish it?
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Like once a month, I think.
Yeah, dude.
Well, what do you do when that happens?
I let that client know, hey, I can't finish this today. I'm in a weird headspace, and hopefully they didn't travel very far. It's more important to me that I do the best tattoo that I can than it is for me to just get through it and give you a mediocre tattoo I'm not proud of.
I 100% agree with that. I've been in certain positions where I'm like looking at the piece, and then I just get overwhelmed with anxiety and like I can't calm my brain down. So I would then have to be like, I have to, we have to call it quits. I am not mentally capable of finishing this tattoo because if I push through it, it's not going to be, it's going to be even worse. Like my mental, like I will start spiraling from there, and then I'll be down on myself because I tried to push myself and the artwork suffered. And not only did the artwork suffer, but the client suffers.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, just because I had the arrogance to be like, oh no, I could just brush this type of, you know, artist block or anxiety. I could just push it off for a few more hours. Like the arrogance that I would have to have in order to be like, yeah, fuck that and fuck the client too, because I know this.
My priority is good tattoo, and there are tattooers that would shit on that and like, no man, you got to power through for the client or whatever. No. And I'm like, I understand where they're coming from, but I'm also like of the variation that like you gotta. I want you to have the best tattoo. This is a lot of money. You're taking time out of your life. This is going to be a part of your forever look. No matter what styles you change, what hairstyles you go through, like it's always going to be a part of your forever look. So my main priority is to make sure I did an excellent tattoo that I'm proud of, and I'm proud of you walking around with. And so yeah, when I hit those roadblocks, I'm just like, I'll push myself to a certain degree, but once I hit a certain wall, I'm like, I can't.
There's a difference between being scared and being anxious. If I'm scared to do something and I push myself past that barrier, I feel great. And I'm like, I'm so glad I made that jump, and I'm so glad I did this. And I'm so glad I made like that sacrifice in order to get this outcome. But when it comes to anxiety, you legitimately have to take like your mental health into account when it comes to stuff like this, because it's their skin that's at stake. It's not you. And like a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, well, they will tell you that, you know, that your artwork is bad or whatever. And I'm like, that's just one person. Like, that's not really going to do much to my, like, they could do as much as they want. They could scream to the gods. It's not going to do anything to our reputation. So you have to have like the mental fortitude in order to be like, and the mental maturity in order to be like, you know what, this has to be the stopping point.
I want to do a good job, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's
Don't get arrogant. Don't get full of yourself. Don't bring ego into this, because then the art and the client will suffer.
And to be fair to us, we do only big tattoos for the most part. So what we're doing in a day, most tattooers don't do that much in a day. And so when you get 3-4 days into your week and you've been there for 8 or 10 hours plus, like, you know, you're going to hit a creative block where you're just going to be very exhausted. So I think it's fair that you get to that point, because like some of the tattoos we do, a lot of other tattooers would take 3 or 4 sessions on. We'll knock out in a day, sometimes 2. So I think it's okay that happens. But yeah, so I guess that's the long-winded answer to that question.
Rasslin Has Lamart has, God, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. They have another question. Do you have any good advice for an artist trying to get into doing more anime/video game tattoos?
Yeah. Do you want me to tackle this one first, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When I changed my styles, so I was known for fine line tattooing at first. That's what I got into. I noticed that there was like a lot of tattooers that refused to do that. I was a new tattooer, so I was like, I'll get good at that, because a lot of people were getting turned away. So I was like, I saw my bills being paid. I saw food on my table. So I took those in. I got to a point though where it was driving me nuts, because that's not what I wanted for myself creatively. I just started doing a lot of like cheap or free tattoos, and in the direction that I wanted to go in. And started building a clientele that way. And I stopped posting tattoos that I didn't want to do anymore. So even if I did a really good job on like fine line birds with floral designs, even if it was good, didn't post it because I was like, I don't want to keep doing this, whether it's good or not. I just want to do nerd tattoos, anime, video games, pop culture. And I only posted that. And even though I took a huge hit at first, it was worth it because I knew what I was working towards, and now I'm comfortable where I'm at. But it is going to be scary for a little bit. So I would say get your friends, homies, put it out for free, and just build a portfolio that focuses on the direction you want to build in.
That's the perfect answer. Like I was gonna say that. Like, if you want to get more people to focus on getting styles that you want to do, then you get what you promote. So if you're going to promote, I've had this question asked like plenty of times where people are like, oh, well, I don't understand why people don't come to me for anime tattoos. And then I go on their profile and it's just like black and gray, skull, roses, more roses, traditional eagle,
Maybe
and then
one
an anime piece.
Yeah.
And then blah, 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 blah. It's like, because you're promoting all these other styles, that's why you're not getting anime. So you need to essentially start fresh. It sucks because I had to do it as well, where like when I started my tattoo career, I was doing like black and gray, like sometimes like black and gray realism, a couple of color pieces here and there. And I really, really tried to push my Pokemon and my anime and my video games, and that's all that I posted. But I never sometimes it would take me a while for me to post another thing, but the best way to do it is to give out like free tattoos. Honestly, like if you're not getting the clientele that you want, you still need to build up your portfolio somehow. So like just start doing like crazy deals, being like, this is 80% off this design. I want to do this design. There will be no
Altercations.
Altercations. Is that the right word?
Yeah, to fight people.
Yeah, I was like, alterations. Jesus. There will be no alterations, and I want to do it on this body part or whatever. And then somebody
There
will
should
bite.
be no altercations either.
No
though.
altercations
don't
either.
Don't fight people just because they don't want your tattoo.
Correct. You don't want to fight somebody. However, alterations. Yeah, just start doing that. And then once you have a portfolio built, then start pushing those out. And then slowly it'll start to trickle in.
Draw Flash. Draw the shit out of Flash and post that Flash constantly.
Yes.
Like push that shit out. Kind of be loud about it, Like post it constantly. Let people know. You'll attract people. Someone will be stoked. Someone will be like, yeah, I got like $90. I'll throw out a tattoo. And just really, really focus on that. And it's okay to ask other tattooers. Like, you can ask us. You can DM us. Like, we're usually really friendly and we'll answer questions and stuff like that. So
for some reason, like, Instagram has been putting a lot of genuine questions in the hidden
messages.
Requests.
Yeah, I know. I'll go digging through the hidden ones and I'll see all the weird porn ones and then there's Pax and Imala asking for their a sponsorship for the 100th time, and then I'll see a real question. I'm like, why the fuck did this come in here?
Yeah, I was just like P-Pax, Imala, porn, P-Pax, Imala. Genuinely, decent question that I'm like, what?
How did you get in here? And it'll be
and
from
it's just
4 weeks ago, and I'm like, fuck, I guess I'll answer this now.
Yeah, and it's like, you were in my hidden request, and I'll check that like once a month. And
also,
like,
I know we just shouted out those Browns real quick. I'm not gonna be sponsored by them.
Stop.
We're explaining how annoying they are.
One of them got into filled out a booking inquiry.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
It was like one of those stupid ass needle companies that I don't want to be sponsored by. And it was just like, Imala, we just want to talk to you or something like that. And they filled out a booking inquiry.
Just to talk to you.
Just to talk to me. I was like, not only are you not going to talk to me.
Next thing you know, they find out your address and they send you letters and they're like, we'd like to give you. And then you're like, please stop. I'm okay. Thank you.
If you send me something, I'm going to make a video of me burning it.
This is to you, brands. Please stop messaging us. We're good. We appreciate it.
P-Pax and Imala, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God. I was so nice.
I'm not. Shut up. I don't care.
You're my angry translator. I'm like, hey, will you guys please stop doing this? And Brian's like, shut the fuck up.
I'm so annoyed by you guys.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Good question.
Like I had to.
You know what's funny is we'll get into the conversation answering the question, and halfway through I'm like, I don't even remember what the question is, but I'm talking about the topic that relays back to the question, but I'll be like, I don't remember actually what the question was.
And again, this is not a dig at the artists that actually use those companies.
I was nice about this, so I'm not.
It's not a dig at the people
Brian
that actually use that product,
himself.
but I'm saying the people behind the product. Don't cut this out either. I want them to know.
Jesus Christ.
They're fucking annoying, dude. Stop.
I'm taking the high road.
Anyway, next question.
So I'm gonna go to a lighter note and go back to
Brian's like pink right now. He's like,
So annoying,
how did we
dude.
get here?
I'm gonna go back to somebody who already asked a question who I now realize I pronounced super wrong. Their name is probably Devastation instead of Devo Station.
I like Devo Station. Stick with it.
Yep.
Devo.
But they also ask, what's your favorite gift that a client has given you?
Oh, fuck. There's been some dope ass gifts, dude. First off, I just want to say if you bring us a gift, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Like that.
It doesn't matter
means
what
the
you bring.
fucking world to us, dude. It's thoughtful, it's kind, it's considerate. To work a job where people want to bring you gifts, thank you so much, dude.
Even after paying like a good amount of money, to us, and then they still end up, they're like, it's not enough. Here's this. And
Dude,
I'm like, yeah.
Thank you. And and honestly, it's hard to pick one gift because we've gotten so many thoughtful, like time intensive, really cool gifts from clients. Like recently I had that guy that brought me the signed Jay and Silent Bob graded comic. And then
we share a client that he just gets us
cool shit.
It's mostly comic stuff, and I've tattooed him like three-ish times, and he's just like, yeah, this is a graded fucking Thor comic. This is the first time Captain America lifted Mjolnir. I thought you would like it. I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to cherish it.
He also looks like
forever.
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he looks like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Just like a really buff Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. And so that guy, and then we have one of our clients, Joseph Garda, is also an incredibly thoughtful client. He builds me Gundams. Like I've had a couple clients who build me Gundams. Thank you. And like I display them, I think they're so cool. And as someone who's built those before, I know how much time and money goes into it. So I've had people bring me graded cards. I did a Q&A a couple years ago where someone asked me what my favorite card art was, and I posted, it was a tag team card with Sableye and Garchomp, and I loved it because they're in a cave and Sableye was eating crystals. And he got me a 10 grade of that. And
that's amazing.
And I was like, how the fuck did you know I like this card? It's like a while ago you posted, and I was like, oh shit, dude, thank you. So many clients have brought so many. I've had a guy recently that got me dog treats, dog toys, got me stuff, and I was like, oh my god, dude, thank you. So thank you guys. I could it's impossible to go through the list of amazing. Oh, knitted gifts, the crocheted ones.
Yeah, I got a lot of crocheted items because I display them on my part.
He has a lot.
I have a lot. I love crocheted items. Like I think they're fucking adorable. So when people give me like crocheted stuff, I absolutely love every single one. There's like 4 or 5 of you that have given me that stuff, so I can't even name names. There's also a person who gave me a stained glass. They made a stained glass Rowlet.
Oh well, I don't even think I've seen this. Have I seen this?
No, it's in one of the cabinets that we just moved, so like I'm still trying to figure out where everything is. But I have a stained glass Rowlet that she made. I'm like, I don't even know how you did it. And she's like, don't worry about it. And it's like about yay big, and it's Rowlet. And I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Like, dude. She was like soldering because it was like made of metal and glass. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? That's incredible.
Clients are man, you guys are rad. Not only are you guys awesome for letting us live our lives doing shit we love doing, but like you bring us thoughtful gifts, and I'm like, I go home and I'm like, I don't deserve this. You guys are incredible. Like,
You're amazing.
yeah,
And we appreciate
Thank
every
you.
single one of you.
Like, dude, I would hug every single one of you guys right now if I could. So thank you guys for all the amazing
As long
gifts.
as you take showers first and
Yeah.
put on deodorant.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
brush
certain
your teeth
gifts, I'll hug a stinky person if they gift. I'm just kidding. But no, I do thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. It's like every time it means something to us, so thank you.
Yeah. You have any others?
Well, that sounds like a really happy way to end the episode. So
How thoughtful.
I think we'll go ahead and call it quits there. I do have one more question, but I think it might take up a whole episode to answer. How do you feel about AI?
Oh, that is a whole episode.
Okay.
How do we feel about AI? We'll answer that. An
Next
episode, we're not giving them numbers. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Baka Boys. Brian, say something cool.
It's JP Tron Walker on Instagram and TikTok. I am BeeRye Tattoos on Instagram. Don't find me on TikTok. And yeah.
And BeeRye Tattoos on Pornhub.
And BeeRye Tattoos on Pornhub.
And if you search that, please tell me. Just
if
for
there's
research
something on
purposes,
there,
what
that'd be
did you
incredible. But yeah, that's us. Follow us on Baka Boys Official on Instagram.
That's a shiny Brian.
That is a that is a shiny Brian. I don't have that hair color anymore.
I love when Brian gets sentimental. That is a shiny Brian.
because I don't look like that anymore. But
And I look exactly the same.
you still look like that's the.
I need a
regular-
throat tattoo now.
You
That's
can
all
just
right.
pop that in there. Anyway, thank you very much, and we will go. We will
Well,
see you
that
next
was
time.
that wasn't that song.
Bye, guys.